Now to a solemn day around the world, International Holocaust Remembrance Day, when we remember one of the greatest atrocities of the last 2 centuries and remind ourselves never again. The day is especially significant this year as Israel battles Hamas terrorists in Gaza and Jews are facing anti-Semitism and hate at a level not seen in decades. Our next guest has just written a powerful new novel that's deeply influenced by the horrors of the Holocaust. Mitch Albom is a New York Times bestselling author whose latest book is called The Little Liar. Mitch, thanks for joining us here on Centerpoint.
Happy to be here, Joe. Thank you.
Mitch, one of the most important aspects of International Holocaust Remembrance Day is never again, that theme. And that as the years pass and more living survivors pass away, we obviously must remind the younger generations that this terrible thing happened and it can never happen again. Does The Little Liar play a role there?
Yes, in fact, it's one of the reasons I wrote the book. You know, I grew up with people in my neighborhood, older Jewish people who wore long sleeves all through the summertime and everything. I remember asking my mother, well, why are they wearing long sleeves? It's so hot out. And she said, well, they have these numbers on their arms and they don't want people to see. And I said, how come? And she said, well, I'll tell you when you're older. You know, well, I got older and I found out. And of course, the people who wear those numbers are mostly gone right now. So it takes books like this and stories like this to remind people that it wasn't so long ago, and it's hardly impossible to imagine that things like this could happen again. They keep happening over and over again in history.
Mitch, your novel deals with a character who, as a boy, was tricked by the Nazis into sending his neighbors to the death camps. How does someone bear that kind of guilt for the rest of their lives?
Well, that's what the book explores. It shows the power of lying. And I always say that the Nazis didn't succeed because they had better guns or bigger guns. They had bigger lies, and they lied about everything. And so the book focuses on the whole notion of the lies and the truth. And this little boy, an 11-year-old boy named Nico, who's never told a lie in his life, is tricked by the Nazis when they invade his town in Greece to stand on the railroad tracks and tell the people who are getting on the trains that they're going to new jobs and new homes, something, by the way, that the Nazis actually did. And he thinks he's telling them the truth. And only after a few weeks, when the last train is being packed, he sees his family being put on it. And he finds out that these trains are actually headed for the concentration camps. And he's not allowed to go. And the book follows what happens to him, what happens to his brother who goes to the concentration camps, what happens to the girl that they both love, who also gets sent away, and what happens to the Nazi who tricked him over 40 years, showing the impact of one lie on 4 lives for that period of time. And we're still paying the price, and many people are still paying the price for what took place and the lies that took place during that time in the Holocaust.
No doubt about that. For readers of your book, Mitch, what can they do to remind other people that the Holocaust happened and that it must never happen again?
Well, first of all, stop pretending that it didn't happen. Don't accept anybody out there who says, oh, it's exaggerated or it didn't exist. There's history left and right and center to prove that otherwise. Secondly, remember that the circumstances that made that happen, people keep saying, well, the Holocaust can't happen again, as if you're looking for the exact same thing to happen. Of course, the exact same thing isn't going to happen. It's not going to be a guy named Adolf Hitler. But when anti-Semitism rises, when people start blaming other people for their problems, when people say people of a certain faith are the problem, we need to get rid of them and then we'll be good. And by the way, the Holocaust killed plenty of Christians as well as Jews. And, you know, there was a whole section in Dachau just for Christian pastors and ministers and priests. And so we need to be careful that something that looks like the Holocaust, not as exact replica, but begins in hate and blame and pointing out people's faith as a problem, can happen again. And in point of fact, is happening all over the world.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, Mitch. So the themes of love, truth, deception, and grace, another well-written book out now wherever books are sold. Again, The Little Liar by Mitch Albom. In the meantime, Mitch, I like to tell people that I have 4 daughters. I want to tell people right now that you have hundreds of kids, because when you're not writing best-selling books, you and your wife are involved with young people. Share with us here on Centerpoint the details of HaveFaithHaiti.org and the orphanage you began after the devastating earthquake years ago.
Yes, I went to Haiti a month after the earthquake happened in 2010, and I've been there every month since. I took over an orphanage down there. I was so impressed with the kids and their faith, their hope, their joy, their positivity. that I just, ended up there all the time. And we've raised now, well over 100 kids. We have 60, 65 at any given time. They come in, but we never adopt them out because I feel if they've been abandoned once, we could never do that to them again. And we raise them there with love, food, and faith, which those three things are a pretty powerful combination. And so far, every one of our kids who has graduated our school has gone on to college scholarship here in the United States. One of them is even in medical school. So we're hoping to try to turn the story around in Haiti and have them go back and try to make their country a better place. But I am absolutely blessed to be in the company of those kids every month, and they make me far better than I make them.
Well, again, if you want to help out as our viewers, they can see the website below. Mitch Albom, once again, another home run with this book. 40 million copies sold worldwide. New York Times bestseller. Great books. This one is included. We appreciate you taking the time, Mitch, to hang out with us today and talk about your organization as well. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Joe.